Hello everyone, it's Vicki. I hope you're having a good day. I'm having a great day today, but honestly, and being very transparent with you, yesterday I did not have a very good day. It was one of those terrible, horrible, no good, very bad days, and I hardly ever have those. I'm going to call this little chat with you today Lessons from My Teacup. Well, I have a teacup collection. I have some really awesome teacups that I inherited from my aunt. I didn't start this collection, she did, but it's mine now. And yesterday, I felt at around 3:30 in the afternoon, just really low, feeling sort of like my mood had tanked more than I remembered it having tanked in a long time. And I happen to be a very up person. I'm always on my game. I tend to be optimistic most of the time, and I've been labeled Miss Positivity, and that's actually true. It's kind of part of my nature. But I will say to you that whether that's part of your nature or whether you struggle with being up and positive and optimistic about life more commonly, nobody is exempt from days where we are just running on empty. And that happened to me yesterday. So I want to share with you a little bit about what I learned from my teacup. In fact, I will say they're gorgeous teacups. The design is beautiful. But the most important lesson I learned is the fact is they are empty. No matter what they look like on the outside, no matter what their appearance is, the fact is that they are empty. And so that started me thinking a little bit about me, that I had neglected my self-care, that I have spent so much time trying to make things work at work and taking care of family and friends and encouraging others, which are all things I love to do. I feel that's something I'm supposed to be doing, but I had not paid attention to me. And many people will say, well, that's selfish. It's the most important thing for you to think about. You can't pour into other things and other people until you are filled up, until you are taken care of. And so self-care is really, really important. And during this time where we've been operating in this mode of coronavirus, if you will, this sheltering in place for a long time, it's tough. It's hard to stay filled up. This little gauge begins to move very quickly to empty mode. And we have paid greater attention, speaking of gauges, to our car's level of fuel, to our car battery, certainly to our cell phone battery. We all know when it's about to die, but we pay more attention to those things than we do to our own battery life, our own self. Are we filled up? We might look okay on the outside, we might look okay to other people, but honestly, on the inside, we might be empty. And so I realized that about myself, and I realized, and one thing I do know is that stress in the short term, we can usually make it through stress in the short term. In fact, our bodies are amazing in that they can make it through stress for short periods of time, but are not created to make it through stress for the long term. And this has been a long, long time. And so yesterday I could feel myself becoming depleted emotionally, physically, mentally. The good news is I recognized it. So at 3:30 in the afternoon, I shut down my computer and I did what I need to do for self-care. Now you might ask, what does that self-care look like? Well, it will be different for you and for me. For me, self-care is always about getting outside and getting some physical exercise. It just makes me feel better, and that gauge starts to move. So I went outside yesterday at 3:30. I took about a 2.5-mile walk through the park. And being in nature is another thing that fills me up. And by the time I got back, or actually on the way back, I started thinking about how I already felt my mood had lifted so much higher. And then I got back and I called a family member who always encourages me, and that time on the phone also began to fill that tank. And I felt so much better. And another thing that is a practice of mine, you've heard me say this before possibly, and that is practicing gratitude. And so I just sat outside for a little bit longer and I started thinking about the things I'm grateful for, my colleagues at work, to be a part of such a wonderful organization. My family and friends that I know of are all well during this time. The fact that I have a home and I have food and a wonderful husband. I'm grateful for so many things. And as I thought about those things, I could just feel that gauge go all the way over into full mode. So self-care is really important. If you need to pour out, if you need to give of yourself, whether it be to work, to things, to people, you've got to be filled up and strong yourself. So pay attention to the battery life of your own being and take care of yourself and make sure you're filling back up. Because you can be looking just great on the outside, but you got to be filled. So what is it that's going to fill your cup? Think about that and don't neglect that. I hope you'll be well.